This is 2 Cents the Podcast. I'm Nino. Thank the man upstairs for always blessing me to get up, go out and be productive, and make it back. Please, people, thank you. Continue to subscribe, hit them subscriptions, click that like button. I'm going to send some shout outs. First of all, my man, David Parker, USA Podcast. That guy's doing brilliant things over there. People, please tune into his channel. Check out his channel. He is doing a lot of things with inspirational podcasts about relationships, podcasts about politics, podcasts about everyday life, podcasts from police brutality, podcasts to black men empowerment, black women empowerment, all kind of things. Check out my guy, David Parker, a USA Podcast. What up, Big Marlon? What up, Narish? What up to my boy Trey? I ain't said nothing to him. What up to Big Luther, my man from Chicago? What up to my man Bruce Simmons out of Saginaw, Michigan, excuse me. What up, Dre, Marco? What up, Big Foley? What is going on? What up to my nephews, Keith, Julian, Papa, Pootie, David Parker? What up to my niece, Keisha? What's going on with you? What up to my ladies that always hold me down too? Miss Valerie, my Valerie, Miss Valeria, Miss Lucille, Miss Ivy, Miss Amber, Miss D, Miss Destiny, Miss Shelley, Miss Naomi, Miss Carmen, Miss Brittany, what it do? Miss Betty, what's going on with you? Miss Stephanie, what's popping? What's going on with you? What up to my man Andre Williams, a long partner that I've been making a connection with. What up to my boy Tony Campbell? Ain't seen him for a while. We back connected, chopping it up. What it do? What up, Anthony Humphrey, Donald Freeman? What up, BA? What's going on? What it do? Well, the fall of 2025 is amongst us. Kids are going back to school. The interesting thing is, there's a lot of new Texas laws that will be in effect across the classrooms in Texas this year. Texas is one of 3 states that will implement new rules. Texas, Nebraska, and New York are the 3 states that will implement new rules. I know for sure one rule that Texas, New York, and Nebraska will implement is the no cell phone ban against cell phones. But school has already started in some school districts in Texas. I live currently in Fort Worth. Our school district will begin Monday, and I believe Dallas has already started. Maybe Houston already has started too. But I'm going to run down some of the new Texas laws that will affect classrooms across Texas this year. Number 1, the cell phone ban. House Bill 1481 prohibits students from using personal communication devices like cell phones, smartphones, Apple Watches, and tablets during the school day. This includes passing periods and lunch breaks. I applaud this. I know everybody is on the internet. I know everybody is consumed with social media, but we have to still go back to old school. Let teachers teach classes to students like social studies, American English, geography, math. That's old school way where they teach them with books, writing, lessons on the chalkboard and things like that. It's too much of kids not paying attention to the teachers and just infatuated with their social media platforms, like on YouTube, X, that was formerly Twitter, TikTok, and social media platforms like that. Go back to the old way. So I applaud Governor Greg Abbott on the cell phone ban. You know, you got all day. What, you go to school maybe 8 hours a day? It's 24 hours in a day. That means you have 16 hours to check out or get on your cell phone or use your smartwatch or any kind of communication device. So I applaud that. Put the cell phones down while you're at school. Get back to learning knowledge that these teachers are trying to teach you, because it's going to help these students in the long run to go out and be productive citizens, prominent in their careers, go out and earn money and have a fabulous career, a fabulous life, whether they're married or single. So I applaud the cell phone ban in public classrooms. That's not going to hurt nothing. And I know a lot of people are probably going to get back with me and say, well, cell phones are used for some classrooms as a plus, and that's true. That is true. But I believe they have did the numbers, and much as it could be a plus, the overall survey, or the overall, when they went back and did their numbers and checked the pluses of having a cell phone in classrooms against the negative of having cell phones in classrooms, the negative outweigh the pluses. So again, I applaud Governor Greg Abbott for, banning cell phones in classrooms for right now. Kids have time enough to use their cell phones. 2, student clubs. Senate Bill 12 requires parental permission for all student club participation and bans clubs based on sexual orientation and gender identification. Well, I think, for one thing, your parents have to give you permission to go into club and student clubs anyway, because a lot of students that build clubs, it's not like old school where you used to have math clubs and English clubs. With social media, so much thing is now on a broader, more intense level where if parental guidance is not behind it, kids can get together, form groups that can be dangerous. You can bring guns into it. A lot of kids, a lot of times, when a lot of these mass school shootings in high school, it can trigger from that. Though a lot of times it was young high school kids that were standoffish and had probably a mental problem that committed some tragic acts of mass shootings. But I agree with that against that again and again. Social, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Nothing is wrong with same sex. Nobody is, criticizing the LGBTQ. Nobody is criticizing that. That's anybody's preference. I'm not criticizing it either. But again, I don't think nothing wrong with parents, have a say on when their kids are able to join certain student groups. If it's for the curriculum, if it's for to get their grades up, if it's for, trying to build leadership with student groups or things like that, then I'm all for it. But now, it's a different ball game with social media, It's also a lot of student groups can lead to, especially if they same sex, can lead to other, getting bullied or bullying. So things like that you have to watch out for. School safety technology. Senate Bill 838 mandates that all school classrooms have a silent panic alert technology for immediate contact with emergency services. I agree with that, because if emergency brews and stems, the biggest thing you don't need is loud sirens going off, because that can right there produce immediate panic from kids. When you hear sirens, just like anybody else, just think if you're a common civilian and you're walking around or you're anywhere in a neighborhood and you hear the ambulance or the police loud sirens, right then and there, you're going to get anxiety. your eyes are going to open, and you're going to get anxious. You wonder what's going on because you're thinking it's going to be somebody that's in dire straits or in trouble, either committed a crime or, a victim of a crime. So saying that, I believe that too in school. Use the silent approach, which means, use the technology silencing, and then you will keep down the panic and pandemonium of kids already going to get stressed out and nervous. It's kind of like, remember when you watch movies and you ever see, I can use Set It Off as one. You remember when they did the bank robbing part or whatever, when they robbed the bank and the bank manager hit the silence alarm, triggering it off without, and called for the police without even the bank robbers or the culprits or the perpetrators knowing it. My point right there. The silent alarm or alert technology will, be useful in keeping everybody in a non-panic mode and keeping everybody cool and calm. Because again, them sirens will set off, already stressful stress, and also it might not be even bad as you think about if you set off the silent, alarm instead of just setting off regular alarms. What if you set off the regular alarms? Everything is loud in the school, and now the whole school, I'm talking about students, faculty, and everybody is now in a major panic, and it wasn't even that bad. So again, I agree with that, silent technology for emergency services. Special education funding. New legislation overhauled the special education funding system, shifting from placement based on a tiered service intensity approach. Well, special education funding is, what are we talking about here now? We're talking about kids that are mentally challenged or academically challenged. We're talking about kids that have autism and other kind of diseases that probably will interfere with their learning compared to regular students that, can learn naturally. So if you're going to take the funding away from there, I believe that approach right there is a lot with cutbacks in the economy. So again, here we go, funding, but we need to be able to teach and demonstrate and help be taught the mentally challenged and especially challenged, academically challenged kids that have a hard time. Think about it, if a kid has dyslexia or something like that, and maybe have a hard time learning more efficient than another child that's, just basically picks up things a lot of ways. Or again, like I say, autism or a kind of, way of not learning in a good way because he has autism, or any kind of basically way of he's having a hard time, or she having a hard time learning. You need that special funding to help them learn, because every kid is not equipped smart. Some kids need a little bit more help, assistance, maybe tutoring a certain way, a certain class. They need to be put in certain classes to help them learn. And there goes the funding right there, because it's going to take a little bit extra than the usual routine of teaching a kid or something like that. So special funding, education funding, I believe that one right there is a lot. Well, cutting back on the economy, and we know how the economy now is. And as President Trump has said, the Democrats would, they done been in here in years with a lot of the overspending. He's trying to get America back very, productive, get the money back up so we can get our business up and every American can be bountiful in spending and having things like he used to have. But again, it's going to take a process. So I believe a lot of that he's going to have to continue cutting back, get everything even keeled, and then maybe sooner or later we can start seeing back the ways when Trump was in there that first term. Remember how the economy was great and a lot of people was, spending money, having money. But right now, I believe that right now just everything tight. But the special education funding, I'm okay with that. But I think still though, if it's gonna prohibit kids that's academically challenged, then we need to try to work out another way of finding out where they can get back to, having the funds for them to learn too. Personal financial literacy. House Bill 27 expands curriculum requirements for personal financial literacy, including budgeting, saving, and investment. Well, you're going to have to budget, save, and invest. So that's what basically, I think the Republicans in a whole are trying to get back with this not school with everybody. I know everybody look at the Republicans as this basically for themselves and basically they're rich and so the rich look out for the rich. But you got to remember, when people are rich, they are on budgets. They do save. And of course, they do invest. If you have money, the only way to get more money is you got to spend money. So that comes with budgeting, that comes with saving, and that comes with investing. You're never gonna be able to have money. You're never gonna be able to make money if you don't have money, and that goes with anything. So I believe on that. That's what they're saying in the personal financial literacy deal, and for goes from expands curriculum, like we're gonna teach them new classes and new classes that will be implemented in school. I know a lot of states are going back to old-fashioned ways of teaching, like metal shop, wood shop, things like that. And I miss them kind of days, because a lot of things since the internet age or the internet has came in, it's so computer-based technology. But every person, a kid that's going to graduate from high school or graduate is not going to be this, an apex or astute at computer literacy. A lot of kids can use their hands. That's why I think it's great that Trump is trying to bring back old-fashioned, classes in high school or whatever, like metal shop, wood shop, things like that. When I was in school, that's what, that was the type of classes we took, and so that's a better, how can I say this? That's more of better chances of people graduating and being successful. It's not all, a lot of times, a lot of people are smart with their mind, but a lot of times, a lot of people are good with their hands, and you should be able to have a chance to make money not only with your mind, but you should be able to have a chance to make money if it's just using your hands. So, I see what the situation what goes with that too. Mental health absences. Senate Bill 207 clarifies that requirement with mental health professionals are excused absences. Well, professionals can have mental health problems too. It doesn't mean that just because you're running, or you're the boss, or you're the CEO, that mental health doesn't play as a hand, because mental health can come down, or mental health can get in the life of anybody, whether it's a CEO, whether it's an owner, whether it's a president. Mental health doesn't discriminate from nobody. And when it comes with mental health, you have to have absences. You have to take leaves out because You can be going great one day, or you can be going great a few months or a certain period of time, then all of a sudden that mental health will come and overwhelm you, and you need a break off. And then a lot of times mental health can be, mental health can be from drug use, from substance abuse drugs, illegal substance abuse drugs, to sometimes even, herbal drugs, and with a combination. But then mental health can be hereditary. It can just be, not even drug use, it's just something wrong with the mind. So again, mental health excuses, I don't think nothing wrong with that, especially from professionals, because again, mental health doesn't discriminate. And who to say that all mental health candidates have to be people that's maybe in poverty, on the lower end of the totem pole as far as making money, as far as if you're working at a good job and you're trying to climb up the corporate ladder. As far as mental health, not only constitutes, absences for the people that's working in the warehouses, mental health can also constitute that for the people that's running the warehouses. Food additives. Senate Bill 314 restricts certain food additives in school meals. I agree with that too, because a lot of times all these additives in this food can be a key factor with kids with obesity. It's not good. It's not healthy. I believe a lot of times in a lot of these lunchrooms, it's not the best of food that kids are consuming, but kids have to eat. And again, to feed the brain, for the brain to react and operate efficiently, you have to put food in it. But you don't need all these additives. You don't need all this processed stuff. You don't need all these kind of sodiums and things in the kids' food that's not only going to be bad for them, right now, but in the long run, because basically a lot of underlying health problems as we get as people old, it also tells you, or it starts when you're young. You have to take care of yourself, kids, young adults, 20 years old, when you're that age, to help you not suffer underlying conditions when you get old, when you get in your 50s and your 60s and your 70s. But cut out a lot of the extra processed things that you get in high school or school lunches. And I mean, not just high school, we're talking about middle school, we're talking about, grades from 1 through 5 or things like that. You have to watch with kids. I believe if you can, and a lot of kids young don't like healthy food, but if we can really work hard on trying to feed our kids at a young age healthy food. And it's going to be hard because, believe me, a lot of healthy food doesn't have taste in it. I know myself, it's very bland. So a kid going to be like, they don't like that. But you're going to have to try to camouflage that some way, because the healthier they'll eat, the better they're going to be in the long run, the more solid their mind going to be, and the better they will be going out into the world as they go to, grades 1 through 5, grades 6 through 12, and then go to college and, pursue when they go out into the world and be prominent financially wise and also be great citizens. So I agree with food additives, need to be restricted. You have to diet. Diet is a big thing of mental health and wellness. Diet is a big thing with wellness too, well-being. You can work out and everything, but you also have to eat properly too. So again, I applaud that. And it starts with when our kids are young in grades 1 through 5, and then, they go through middle school, and then they eventually go through high school. new Texas laws that would affect classrooms across Texas this year, starting in the fall of 2025 to 2026. My podcast, I'm Nino, 2 cents.